College Countdown, a Sunday edition here. I am Josh Neighbors in the Rogue Media Network, also 365 Sports. Glad to be with you, brought to you by DraftKings. Find us at CC Podcast JN. I'm also at Josh Neighbors _ as well. Jack Allen, who joins us every Wednesday, is at Jack Allen TV. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also, find us wherever you guys get your podcasts. So, a Sunday morning edition, the Sunday after Texas Tech. Have they arrived after a win over Utah? Indiana, Curt Cignetti and company, keeping up momentum like they had from last year. Also, coaches like Billy Napier and schools that are in the waiting game to either fire or make their next head coaching hires. We already have 2 that are open, and there's 2 more in Arkansas and Florida that look like they could be in short succession. All right, so let's get to it. What a great Saturday it was. A lot of fun. I know people kind of, they poo-pooed the slate just a little bit, but I had a great day watching football. It's always a great day when we watch college football, just because we have so many weeks out of the year we don't get it and we miss it. And that's why I think you have to enjoy every single week. I hate being that kind of sentimental type person, but you got to enjoy it, right? We don't only get so many of these, so you really need to enjoy that. All right. Big early result yesterday. It was big noon kickoff. It was 34-10, Texas Tech over Utah. This was not a pretty game, but I think that's kind of the good news for Texas Tech, because they have been pretty for far too long. They are, a kind of a drive for show, but not putt for dough team. Their offense has looked really good at times. Their defense on the whole has not been up to snuff to be what they want to be, which is a championship contender in the Big 12 Conference, and then by extension, eventually down the line, be a championship contender in college football. And, making the playoffs half the battle, but Texas Tech, they took a big step in achieving that goal, because on the road against Utah, just if you look at the schedule on its surface, that's their toughest game. It's the only ranked team preseason that they faced. It was a ranked road game as well. Rice-Eccles Stadium has been a very difficult place to go and win, especially when they are fully healthy, and they were able to do so. And they were able to do so with a really strong defensive performance, because what we had seen from Billy Napier so far this year is that he had been really effective. And I know a junior quarterback, and we hadn't seen a ton of him, in the higher level after coming over from New Mexico. But he'd played well so far to this point. And Texas Tech's defense did a great job of applying pressure. They only allowed 263 yards. They got off the field on 3rd and 4th down. Utah is a combined 4 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down, and the other way around, Texas Tech was an efficient 9 of 17. That's what saw them win the time possession battle, which in Texas Tech football, not always the most common thing in the world. And also, they were able to stop the run effectively, only 3.3 yards per tote. And I think, as much as will be made about Baron Morton leaving the game after hitting his head in a 10-3 game, the fact that either quarterback could have won this game is the point. It's the point that when Will Hammond comes in, they stretch out a little bit, and they're able to stretch their legs, and a 24-7 fourth quarter being the big difference here. I mean, this is a 10-3 game as you hit the fourth. But the fact that the defense was good enough to keep Utah at home where they were was very impressive. And the thing was, they did not, Texas Tech did not get home a ton in this game. They only had 1 sack on the day, but they were able to meaningfully impact that turnover battle and swing it in their direction. And so that always, especially on the road, if you're going to do that, that's going to put you in a good spot. A 4-2 turnover ratio. When you're +2 on the road and your defense is playing like that, that is huge. Despite the fact they committed 14 penalties just to Utah's 2, and some of that could be the home field stuff, the fact that you were the team forcing the ultimately massive and important mistakes shows me some maturation where Texas Tech is. And while their wins predominantly in college football have come as public relations victories, the way they recruit and some of the guys they've been snagging and the momentum of Cody Campbell and, their videos and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that we've been waiting for is on the field for kind of some of those returns to end up coming to fruition. And they did. And they did in a big way in this game. And so I think that, the fact they can win a 34-10 game is the point here. The fact that this was not a fun watch and it was not a 45-38 old Big 12 classic is the point. And that Joey McGuire and company have started to build something that's got some legs on both sides of the football. This is a program that while they've watched schools in the Big 12 like Kansas State and Iowa State and Baylor and Oklahoma State ascend and go up and then come back down and try to recharge, they have not been able to get in that revolving door of teams to make the Big 12 championship game. Baylor, TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State have all gotten themselves to a Big 12 championship game. Texas Tech has not done so recently. And so this is a massive step in that direction, especially because the Red Sea parts for them. Now, when you go to Hammond at quarterback, it's not a guy they prepared for on film, but he was able to officially run the offense. I mean, Morton did have the 2 picks, and look, he's a veteran guy. Will Hammond's young. They don't think they have much tape on him, so I'm sure he looks a lot better. But able to run for 61 yards, gave him just that element too, and was able to efficiently pass and just keep things on track. And I thought that was impressive for a guy who's that young, 13-16 for 169 and 2 scores and a lot of confidence. And look, that's kind of a brand of the confidence, a brand of Texas Tech, but functional confidence. Where does it come in? The backup quarterback stepping in and doing that. And I think some of his quotes after the game, revealed the same thing as well. After the contest, he said, we watch film together. It's my guy. I always, is that I trust you. And that's what he had to say about, Baron Morton. Right. And so you like having the older guy be able to show the young guy the ropes and have that trust level right there. And that's huge. So Texas Tech, I think to me, that's the biggest storyline because this is a program that's spending money in a nationally relevant way and have not had the nationally relevant results yet. They got one. And that is a massive victory for them. Next story, big one here is Indiana dominating Illinois. All right. Indiana takes it to Illinois, and look, I thought this would be maybe a low-scoring game, a rock fight, Big Ten-ish game. Indiana just beat the brakes off Illinois, and that shows you that Curt Cignetti's roster, and the way they look too especially, has some staying power. Last night, they get Fernando Mendoza, kind of the night that really crystallizes things for him. A 21 of 23 for 267 and 5 touchdowns. They ran for 6.4 yards a carry, over 300 yards on the ground, and 3 scores. And this team wanted to go and reload in the transfer portal, right? That was a huge thing for them, is that they wanted to make sure they had guys that looked like some of the guys they had last year. And I think Mendoza is an upgrade at quarterback over what they had in the 2024 season. I like Curtis Work. I think he is a good player. I enjoyed watching him play, but I think Fernando Mendoza just does a bit more for you. Not saying he's Superman, but he is at 6'5", 225. Mendoza's got some intangibles, or some, I guess you could say they are. I hate the words intangibles. He's got some tangible things that are different, that are intangible for a guy like Curtis Work, right? That Work's not going to have at that big frame. And then what you have to really talk about for this team was the defense. A 7-sack performance. And Mario Landino ends up having 2 in this game. Also, on the other side of things, Tyreek Tucker has that out of Norfolk, Virginia. He has a couple sacks in this game as well. Tyreek Tucker, another one of those guys, who's James Madison transfer, and on a big stage against a coach that prides himself in offensive line play, they embarrassed them. It was one-way. Once things kind of got rolling for them, it was one-way traffic. I mean, 63 points in this game and only allowing 10. Like, those guys never let up. And so Indiana last year, once we think about that season that they had, and look, the rubber met the road for them. They hung tough against Notre Dame. Which was cool to see. And, the Ohio State game did not go their way either, but they really pummeled the rest of their schedule. Well, this year, they're going to have these challenges. I mean, they're going to have to maybe sneak one of the 2 on the road that they have. They've got at Iowa next week, which 2:30 on Peacock, not an easy game. They are then at Oregon. So back-to-back road games. Michigan State's at home. UCLA is at home. At Maryland, at Penn State. And Maryland looks like they could be a pretty decent outfit as well this year. at Penn State, as I mentioned, Wisconsin at Purdue. So this is a schedule that features 2 really hard road games when they go to Penn State and they go to Oregon. If they don't get one of those and they get handled in one of those, can they make the playoff? But I mean, the fact that we're talking about Indiana football being able to repeat as a playoff team, and it's not some aberration. They've got the guys that make them look, a lot better than the programs like Illinois, which was these building programs that achieve top 10, right? These are overachievers. These are not schools that naturally are surrounded by tons of talent like your Auburns, your Alabamas, your Georgias. They are going and getting coaches who do the most with not the least, but can, make those guys not look like the least. And guys like Curt Cignetti, who's brought over guys from James Madison. He brings in Fernando Mendoza from Cal. I mean, they've got all of these dudes who are coming from these different places, and they're squeezing the orange out of them. And Brett Bielema does the same thing too, but Cignetti's a bit better at it right now, and maybe the best going. I would say Indiana's talent level is higher than Kansas's, but I would also say that Lance Leipold is one of those guys who just gets the most out of his teams. I'd say Key also as well at Georgia Tech, one of those guys. Out of these building programs, the fact that, Indiana's the best right now, it looks like, is really impressive. And no, they don't play the week in, week out SEC schedule, but the fact that they can put a 63-10 on a team that we think is pretty good in Illinois, that shows you a lot. That shows you how well Indiana has built this thing. And they really made a point last night of kind of stamping it, right? They wanted to make sure that everybody kind of knew. Hey, this is what we are capable of. 31 first downs, by the way, in the game. 579 yards of total offense to just 161 the other way around from Illinois. So that's a dominant performance. Shout out to them for getting the job done. Also, quick shout out to Michigan. Michigan wins 30-27 over Nebraska. Biff Poggi was the head man on the day, despite 308 and a score from Raiola. It was the ground game, 8.78 tote. Underwood, Marshall, and Haynes all get in the end zone on the ground. Old school Michigan. Recent school Michigan, but kind of that, hey, Bryce Underwood might be the guy that takes them into the next generation of Michigan football, but right now, it's all about being a hammer and making your opponent the nail. They still want to be a hammer and nail operation. And it looks like they still are. Also, one more result to get to. Auburn at Oklahoma. I know the SEC comes out and talks about the snafu with the officiating, but here's the deal. Jackson Arnold as a passer, they gave him opportunities. Like Auburn wanted to put pressure, or rather Oklahoma wanted to put pressure. Arnold held the ball way too long sometimes, just trying to make a play. There was one where he's holding it, and all of a sudden the guy gets shot out of a cannon and gets him, and he had some time, but it's like you got to be cognizant that things can break down for you. And then in the second half, there were two occasions where Arnold had a wide open man and missed him, and they schemed it open for him. He had the opportunities and missed. And one was a touchdown throw that should have happened. And when you've got a guy like Jackson Arnold who's got, who can do some things with his legs, but yesterday the legs was not yielding very much, they make you into a passer, you got to be able to be competent. Not saying you have to be Tom Brady, not saying you have to be Peyton Manning, but you need to be competent. I mention this all the time, that when Robert Griffin III got injured with the Commanders, the then Redskins, and he eventually comes back and they tried to run him less. RG3 was a good passer, but post-injury, he could not, he's not just a pocket passer. He needs to be more than that. That's what a lot of these guys do. Like Lamar Jackson is a really good passer. I wouldn't say whatever you want to say. But what makes him a great passer is he uses his athletic ability to create lanes and windows, and he's like a great point guard in that way. It's like Chris Paul in that way. He's able to make that happen for himself. He's able to make throws that most guys don't make because with how athletic he is, he creates angles that 99% of guys can't create. Same thing for Mahomes the run, same thing for Josh Allen. These guys are able to move and establish things in a way where not other guys can get there, right? You can't, some of that stuff you can't scheme up. You can scheme it to a guy if you have a guy like that, but most teams do not have a guy like that. And Jackson Arnold, not saying he's got, that level of skill, but he was a 5-star. So he did display a talent level, especially athletically, because we can tell it's what it is, that most guys didn't. And he's got to use that, but also he's got to be a decent enough passer. because it can't just be like if the run game doesn't work, you suck. Like I think John Mateer has gotten, I think what I can say about him is that he's good enough. Like if the running game for him is not totally working, which yesterday 10 carries, 29 yards, he can still be 24 for 36 for 271 in the score. And I don't think he was amazing yesterday, but I think he was good enough. And also Isaiah Satane, talk about good enough, underused at Arkansas, and then he goes crazy yesterday at Oklahoma for OU. He was the best offensive player in that game. But, these two teams, 300 yards total offense for Oklahoma. They combined 6 for 27 on third down. So this was not an exciting, fun, amazing watch, but in the end, Auburn just not able to get the job done. And they were just a bit too far behind, and they just don't have enough punch. I think that's pretty clear. All right, last thing here. So, coaches and the waiting game. All right. So last night, Florida loses again. They lose this time to the Miami Hurricanes, and they do so. It was a slow burn. Their defense played as hard as they possibly could for as long as they did. 26-7 your final score. This one is totally on Florida's offense. They were 0 for 13 on third down. They had 25 yards of offense in the first quarter. And DJ Lagway has talent. He has ability. But the offensive line is not playing well. The receivers are not particularly, they don't look as excellent as we thought they might. And also their running backs, this is not, great, not a great situation. That's partially tied to offensive line play. And Billy Napier got this extra chance because of DJ Lagway. And they're trying, I don't think it's a lack of total effort on the offensive side. I just don't think they have any answers. I don't think this team's got answers. And it's high time that Billy Napier found some. This Florida job looks like it will become open. I don't see a way with the schedule they have him saving his job. And in addition to that, the Arkansas job looks like it's going to come open. Sam Pittman's outfit loses to Memphis yesterday. They end up blowing a massive 18-point lead on the road in Memphis, and you cannot have that if you are Sam Pittman's team. It just absolutely cannot happen. And it's a question now of Florida's in a class of its own, but Arkansas is, and I don't think Arkansas and Virginia Tech and UCLA are hunting for the same candidates, but you have to start making a decision because there's a chance other jobs come open and your candidates could get pulled. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but these schools are open, and while they have interims, they've got some time to decide what they want to do, and they can target guys and start talking to guys and gauge interest. And while you might not have your candidate until December, you can have a pretty good idea of who you want, right? The coach in waiting, from somebody else could be a factor this year, could be a thing this year. And so I think this situation that we're seeing play out currently at Florida and at Virginia Tech and UCLA, and then maybe also with Arkansas, is highlighting this fact. All right, it's highlighting the fact that, hey, these schools are having to make some decisions sooner rather than later now, to get the guys that they want. So I think that's an interesting thing to watch develop, is when these schools decide to pull the trigger on some of these coaches. I think that is what I'm watching as we head into these coming weeks, because as I'm recording this in 11:15, Billy Napier is still the coach at Florida, so is Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Obviously, the coaching decisions have been made at UCLA and Virginia Tech, and so we will see, how fast those schools move, how thorough they are, what that looks like, and those processes. Want to say thanks to the folks at DraftKings for sponsoring this. Football is back, so get a little skin in the game. Obviously, bet responsibly, but there's a lot happening, NFL and college football. And we're heading towards October, which means we're starting to get some weeknight college football as well, opportunities out there. Made a little extra change on that Rice game last week. Saw a nice advantage in that one as well. But they've got live betting, which the options there are fantastic. And I'll tell you what, the best part to me about DraftKings, and I mean this sincerely, is they have got as good of an interface as any other app. I mean, people always say it's the best. I haven't used every app, but I have a hard time imagining an app as user-friendly as the FanDuel Sportsbook app is. Everything's presented well. It's easy to search stuff. It's really easy to go, if you just go from the login page, you can find those player props that you want basically immediately. And what you can do now is if you go to DraftKings and sign up, use that promo code NEIGHBORS. If you bet $5, once that first bet clears, you get $300 in free bets in your account. They will put that in there for you. You got a week to use them, but use that promo code NEIGHBORS as well. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code NEIGHBORS. That's code NEIGHBORS for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Toronto. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, go see dkng.co/audio. All right, folks, thanks for listening. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you all stay safe out there as well. If you're traveling to games, traveling from home from games, or just traveling to work, make sure you stay safe out there. Like the video, sub to the channel. Leave your comments. We'll be back tomorrow.